Tristan Monroe had built a life that most people could only envy. At 42 years old, he was the charismatic and enigmatic CEO of one of the world's most influential technology companies, a global empire that boasted towering headquarters, an armada of luxurious automobiles, and a public image meticulously crafted to embody success, power, and sophistication. Yet behind the dazzling facade of boardroom battles, glossy magazine covers, and high society galas, Tristan's soul felt hollow. His days were consumed by endless meetings, strategic corporate maneuvers, and the relentless pressure to outperform competitors, leaving him to wonder if there was more to life than the perpetual chase for wealth and prestige. The loss of his mother many years ago had left an indelible scar on his heart, and his father, once a force of ambition and ruthlessness, had become but a ghostly reminder of a legacy built on cold calculations and impersonal deals. In the midst of his gilded yet lonely existence, Tristan began to question whether his accomplishments were worth the personal isolation they had wrought. One dreary evening, after a particularly grueling day of negotiations and press briefings, Tristan felt the urgent need to escape the suffocating confines of his high-powered world. Eschewing the customary retreat to one of his opulent penthouses or an exclusive celebrity-studded restaurant, he instead impulsively decided to take a solitary walk through the quieter streets of the city. His polished leather shoes carried him past sleek skyscrapers and neon-lit avenues until he found himself in front of a modest, unpretentious café tucked away on a narrow side street. The establishment, known simply as the Daily Grind, offered an inviting warmth that was worlds apart from the sterile, overly formal dining halls he usually frequented. Its soft amber lights shone through rain-streaked windows, and the gentle murmur of conversation, punctuated by the clink of porcelain cups and the soothing strains of a live jazz trio, evoked a sense of comfort and authenticity that Tristan had not experienced in years. Stepping inside, Tristan was immediately enveloped by the familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods, a sensory embrace that was both simple and profoundly grounding. The decor was charmingly mismatched. Wooden tables worn smooth by years of use, chairs that creaked with character, and vintage posters adorning the walls, each telling its own little story of bygone days. Taking a seat in a quiet corner by a window, Tristan ordered nothing extravagant, just a black coffee, served in a plain ceramic mug. It was a small, unassuming order, yet as he waited, he marveled at the anonymity the setting offered him. Here, in this humble cafe, he was not greeted with deference or adoration, but with the unpretentious kindness of a place that treated every customer as simply another member of its small, extended family. Behind the counter stood Ava Collins, a young barista whose presence seemed to illuminate the entire room. At 26 years old, Ava possessed a radiant smile and an unguarded warmth that effortlessly reached out to everyone who entered the Daily Grind. Dressed in a simple uniform that spoke more of practicality than fashion, she carried herself with a genuine kindness that was rarely seen in the corporate world Tristan had long inhabited. Unlike the sycophantic aides and fawning admirers that usually surrounded him, Ava's demeanor was refreshingly sincere. She never flinched at his expensive suit or his air of authority. Instead, she simply greeted him with a genuine good evening and a heartfelt, "What can I get for you?" When Tristan, with a slight hesitation that betrayed his internal turmoil, ordered his black coffee, Ava's response was prompt and unassuming. "Coming right up." In that brief, unadorned moment, Tristan felt a stirring of recognition, a sense that, for once, he was being seen not as the billionaire CEO with a billion-dollar empire, but as a real human being with a heart that longed for connection. Seated by the window, Tristan watched as the steady rhythm of the rain tapped softly against the glass, creating a soothing, almost hypnotic cadence that temporarily drowned out the relentless chatter of the world outside. The ambience of the Daily Grind was therapeutic, a stark contrast to the pressure cooker environment of corporate boardrooms. In this moment of solitude, the burdens of his high-profile life seemed to momentarily dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of calm. Yet even as he savored this brief reprieve, Tristan's eyes wandered toward the street beyond the cafe's welcoming glow. There, huddled on a rain-soaked sidewalk in front of a weathered community center, were several homeless children. Their clothes were threadbare, their faces etched with the unmistakable markers of hunger and hardship. and their eyes shone with a silent, desperate plea for care. For a moment, Tristan's heart tightened with a feeling he had long tried to suppress, the stirring of genuine empathy for those who had been forgotten by a society obsessed with wealth and success. He recalled the countless times he had passed by similar scenes without a second thought, his life so insulated by luxury that the pain of others was rendered almost invisible. But tonight something within him had shifted. Before he could retreat into the safety of his familiar detachment, he noticed something else that captured his attention. Ava, who had been busily attending to orders inside the café, had paused as she glanced out the window. Her eyes, usually bright and focused, softened with concern as they fell upon the group of children. In a heartbeat, she exchanged a few quiet words with the manager and then vanished into the bustling kitchen. Curiosity and a newfound sense of admiration compelled Tristan to follow her gaze. Moments later, Ava reappeared, carrying a large tray laden with steaming plates of food. With deliberate tenderness, she stepped outside into the chilly evening and knelt down beside the children. At first, the kids hesitated, their expressions guarded and uncertain, for they were accustomed to being ignored or shunned. Yet, as Ava's gentle smile and warm, reassuring words enveloped them, their guarded expressions melted into faces of hope and relief. One by one, the children accepted the food, their eyes lighting up with gratitude that was as pure as it was unexpected. In that small act of kindness, Tristan saw something he had not encountered in the glittering corridors of his corporate world. A depth of compassion that transcended all barriers of class and privilege. The simple yet profound gesture struck Tristan deeply, igniting emotions he had long suppressed behind a veneer of power and detachment. In that moment, as he watched Ava distribute the hot meals with an air of quiet purpose, he felt a flicker of something he had almost forgotten: the transformative power of empathy. Yet, as the evening wore on, Tristan's inner conflict grew. Each day he returned to the daily grind, he found himself drawn more and more to Ava's unpretentious kindness and the genuine warmth in her eyes. Their initial interactions were brief and unassuming, a polite exchange, a shared smile. But as the weeks passed, their conversations grew longer, more intimate. Tristan began to confide in Ava, slowly revealing small fragments of his troubled past and the emptiness that lay behind the lavish life he led. In return, Ava shared her own struggles, tales of mounting bills, a sick parent, and the constant pressure of making ends meet in a world that rarely offered second chances. For Ava, life had never been easy. At 26, she had already experienced more hardship than many could imagine. Raised in a modest neighborhood by a single parent who had worked tirelessly to keep the family afloat, she had learned early on that survival often meant sacrificing dreams. Yet, despite the constant challenges and the weight of responsibility, Ava's spirit remained unyielding. Her resilience shone through in every word she spoke, every smile she offered, and every kind act she performed without expecting recognition. For Tristan, this raw honesty and unwavering determination struck a chord deep within him, a stark contrast to the superficial adoration he received in the world of billion-dollar deals and press conferences. In Ava, he saw not only a kindred spirit, but also a beacon of hope, a reminder that true fulfillment could only be found in genuine human connection. However, as the connection between Tristan and Ava deepened, an undercurrent of guilt began to erode Tristan's fragile sense of peace. Each day, as he sat at his usual table in the daily grind and exchanged heartfelt words with Ava, he felt the weight of a secret he had kept hidden from her. He had carefully crafted an alternate identity, a modest patron with a simple love for coffee and quiet moments, in order to experience genuine interaction without the suffocating trappings of wealth and status. Yet, every time their conversation veered toward deeper topics, the burden of his concealed truth pressed down upon him like a relentless storm cloud. He wondered with growing trepidation how Ava would react if she discovered that he was in fact the billionaire CEO whose name graced the front pages of every major financial journal. Would she see him as just another rich man, detached from the struggles of ordinary life? Or could she possibly love him for the man he was, beneath the layers of opulence and power? The internal conflict tore at Tristan every day. Despite the deepening affection he felt for Ava, he clung to his secret as if it were his only shield against rejection and scorn. He justified his deception by convincing himself that his true self, Marcus, as he now thought of himself when away from the corporate glare, was the only part of him that could connect with Ava on a human level. And so, he continued to frequent the daily grind, savoring each stolen moment of authentic conversation, even as the fear of exposure gnawed at his heart. One rainy afternoon, as dark clouds loomed heavy over the city and the steady patter of rain created a soothing rhythm against the cafe's windows, Tristan's inner turmoil reached a climax. He had just finished his coffee when he noticed Ava stepping outside once again. This time, however, she was not merely chatting with a customer or greeting a regular. She was outside the café, standing in front of a modest community center that sat across the street. There, a small group of children had gathered around her as she patiently taught them how to read and write. The scene was almost surreal. Ava's laughter mingled with the sound of the rain, and her eyes shone with a fervor and kindness that made the dreary day seem bright. In that moment, Tristan felt an overwhelming surge of admiration and, for the first time in years, the walls around his heart seemed to crack ever so slightly. Observing the children's eager faces and listening to Ava's gentle encouragement, Tristan was struck by the realization that their worlds were as different as night and day. Ava, with her relentless struggle to make ends meet and her humble determination to uplift those around her, existed in a realm far removed from the gilded corridors of corporate power that he inhabited. Yet, the more he grew fond of her, the more painful the secret he carried became. He resolved, at least for now, to keep coming back to the daily grind, if only for the solace and hope that Ava brought into his life. Every visit deepened his internal conflict, but it also made him more determined to one day reveal the truth, come what may. Over the following weeks, the bond between Tristan and Ava blossomed in small, treasured moments. A shared joke over a misprinted coffee order, a gentle touch on the hand when words failed to capture the depth of their emotions, and long conversations that stretched late into the night, punctuated by the soft hum of the cafe's background music. In those precious moments, Tristan felt a connection that went beyond the superficial trappings of his high-powered existence. He found himself opening up about the loneliness that had haunted him for so long, the loss of his mother, and the sterile rigidity of his father's legacy. Ava, in turn, revealed the struggles of her youth, the burden of endless bills, and the quiet determination that had kept her afloat in a world that was often unkind. But even as their relationship deepened, the specter of Tristan's concealed identity loomed large. Every shared smile and every heartfelt conversation was tinged with the bitter taste of unspoken truth. Tristan's internal strife grew with every passing day, his heart a battleground between the man he truly was and the mask he had been forced to wear. The more he tried to deny it, the more the truth threatened to shatter the delicate balance they had so carefully built. Then, on a fateful rainy afternoon that seemed destined to change everything, Ava's world was abruptly upended. As she sat in her modest apartment that evening, scrolling idly through her phone, a news headline caught her eye. A headline so stark and chilling that it made her blood run cold. Tech CEO Tristan Monroe accused of concealing exploitative practices, a legacy of corporate betrayal, uncovered. The article detailed damning allegations against Tristan's father, the ruthless patriarch behind the very company that Tristan now helmed, and, in a twist of fate, revealed that his father's exploitative business practices had once led to the ruin of a small family business. Ava's heart pounded as she read further, and with each word, a gnawing sense of betrayal took hold. The article confirmed that the collapse of her own family's enterprise, a tragedy that had left deep emotional scars, was inextricably linked to the very empire that Tristan's father had built. The revelation hit her like a physical blow, shattering the tender image she had carefully constructed of the man she had grown to trust and love. Unable to contain the whirlwind of emotions that now threatened to overwhelm her, Ava sought out Tristan at her next visit to the daily grind. The café, which had once been a sanctuary of hope and renewal, now felt like a stage for a confrontation that neither of them had anticipated. As Tristan sat quietly at his usual corner table, Ava approached him with a mixture of determination and heartbreak etched on her face. "Tristan," she began, her voice trembling with raw emotion, "how could you hide something so important from me?" How could you let me believe you were someone you're not?" For a long, agonizing moment, silence reigned between them. Tristan's face paled, and his eyes, which had once shone with warmth and sincerity, now reflected the crushing weight of his concealed truth. Finally, his voice emerged in a barely audible whisper. "Ava, I never meant to deceive you. I was afraid that if you knew who I really was, you'd see me only as a man defined by wealth and the sins of my father's past. I wanted you to know me as Tristan, just a man who loves coffee, who cherishes moments like these." Ava's eyes filled with tears as she struggled to reconcile the man before her with the devastating news she had uncovered. "But your company, your family, how can I trust that you're different when the very foundation of your empire is built on betrayal? My family lost everything because of the decisions made by your father's business. How do I know that you haven't been complicit in that pain?" Tristan's heart ached at her words, and he reached out desperately, his voice choked with remorse. "I swear, Ava, I had no idea of the extent of my father's actions. I was sheltered, isolated by the very world I helped create. I only discovered the truth too late, and I've spent every day since trying to make amends in my own way. I would never willingly allow that legacy to define me, and I beg you to see me for who I truly am." For what felt like an eternity, they stood there in the muted glow of the cafe's interior, the noise of clinking cups and distant conversation fading into an unbearable hush. Ava's eyes, once filled with hope and gentle kindness, now shone with a mixture of sorrow and anger. "I want to believe you, Tristan," she said softly, her voice laden with pain, "but I need to see it. See that you're willing to make things right. That you're not just the heir to a broken legacy, but a man determined to heal it." Determined to prove his sincerity, Tristan vowed then and there that he would use every resource at his disposal to repair the damage of the past. In the days that followed, he set about making changes that would demonstrate his commitment to redemption. He called a series of urgent meetings with legal advisors and community leaders, cancelling exploitative contracts and initiating projects designed to support those who had suffered under his father's corporate tyranny. Every decision, every action, was driven by the desperate need to restore Ava's trust and to prove that he was a man capable of true change. Despite the turbulent revelations and the heavy burden of guilt, Tristan and Ava's connection, though scarred by betrayal, began to transform into something deeper and more resilient. Their conversations grew increasingly raw and honest, filled with confessions of past pain and tentative hopes for the future. Tristan revealed the isolation he had felt since his mother's death and the crushing pressure imposed by his father's unyielding ambition. Ava recounted the hardships of her youth, the collapse of her family's small business, and the lingering bitterness that had once seemed insurmountable. In sharing their vulnerabilities, they discovered that their love was not predicated on wealth or social status, but on the shared desire to overcome their personal demons and to build a future defined by compassion and genuine connection. In time, as Tristan made public moves to reform the practices of his company and to personally fund initiatives that aided those wronged by his father's legacy, Ava's guarded heart began to thaw. She witnessed firsthand the tangible changes. New community programs launched, reparations distributed to affected families, and heartfelt public apologies that, while unable to undo the past, signified a commitment to a more just future. Slowly, the intense pain of betrayal gave way to cautious hope. Yet, the scars of her family's losses remained, and every step toward healing was fraught with the challenge of reconciling the man she loved with the dark history that haunted him. One crisp evening, as rain tapped softly against the window of a quiet park in the early twilight, Tristan and Ava found themselves walking side by side along a deserted boulevard. The cool, damp air was filled with the scent of wet leaves and distant promise. "Ava," Tristan began, his voice steady yet imbued with deep emotion, "do you ever wonder if all our pain, every hardship, every betrayal, is meant to lead us somewhere? That maybe we are being given a chance to rebuild from the ashes of our past?" Ava paused and looked into his eyes, her own glistening with unshed tears. "I think so," she replied quietly. "Every day I wake up hoping that the scars of yesterday will someday fade away, replaced by a future where we create our own story, a story that isn't defined by what was lost, but by what we choose to rebuild. In that moment, under the soft glow of streetlights and the gentle murmur of the rain, their hearts seemed to speak in unison, a shared determination to forge a future together, no matter how tumultuous the journey might be. Yet even as hope began to take root, the road ahead was fraught with challenges. Tristan's efforts to dismantle the damaging legacies of his father's empire were met with fierce resistance from entrenched interests and skeptical media. Protesters gathered outside his corporate headquarters, and pundits questioned whether a man so steeped in privilege could ever truly atone for the sins of his forefathers. Amid these external battles, Ava struggled internally as well. Every time she caught a glimpse of Tristan's past in a headline or a whispered rumor, her heart trembled with the fear that she might be loving a man who was not entirely different from the oppressive forces that had scarred her family. The tension between them, born of raw vulnerability and the weight of history, would often descend into long, painful silences, where words failed to bridge the chasm of mistrust. Determined to prove his sincerity, Tristan took decisive action. The very next day, he reached out to the local community center where Ava worked with such unwavering dedication. Making a significant donation to ensure that the center's educational programs would continue uninterrupted, he also launched a comprehensive investigation into the business practices that had once devastated so many lives. His legal team, under his direct supervision, began to dismantle the exploitative contracts and agreements that had fueled the corporate machinery of his father's empire. Every step was taken with one goal in mind: to demonstrate that the man he had become was capable of healing the wounds of the past, not deepening them. Despite these bold initiatives, rebuilding trust was a slow and arduous process. Ava's inner conflict remained a constant companion. Each day, she wrestled with the desire to believe in Tristan's transformation and the lingering pain of her own family's ruin. Their interactions, though more earnest than ever before, were tinged with a bittersweet poignancy. Late nights spent in quiet conversation, where Tristan laid bare his regrets and Ava shared her deepest fears, gradually built a fragile bridge between their disparate worlds. In those moments of raw honesty, they discovered that love, in its purest form, was not about erasing the past, but about embracing it, learning from it, and using it as a foundation to build something new. As the months turned into years, the metamorphosis in Tristan's public persona became undeniable. No longer was he merely the aloof billionaire ensconced in a world of luxury and isolation. He had become a champion of social justice, a man dedicated to using his vast resources to create meaningful change. His company, once emblematic of ruthless ambition, now embarked on a mission of corporate responsibility and community outreach. Every major announcement, every philanthropic endeavor was accompanied by a personal message from Tristan, a heartfelt acknowledgement of the struggles faced by those less fortunate, and a promise to do better. For Ava, witnessing Tristan's transformation was both healing and inspiring. Slowly, the bitterness that had long festered in her heart began to recede, replaced by cautious optimism and a growing belief in the possibility of redemption. In time, the two forged a bond that was as deep as it was complex, a connection rooted in shared pain, hard-won lessons, and the quiet understanding that every person, regardless of their past, has the capacity to change. Together, they embarked on a journey that was as much about personal healing as it was about transforming the lives of others. One evening, at a charity gala held in a refurbished historic theatre, Tristan and Ava finally acknowledged the full weight of their journey. As the soft glow of chandeliers illuminated the grand hall and a live band played soulful melodies in the background, Tristan took Ava's hand and led her to a quiet corner of the room. "Ava," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "I have spent my entire life chasing success and power, but I now understand that true wealth is not measured in dollars or assets. It is measured in the lives we touch and the love we share. I want to build a future with you, one where we can mend the broken pieces of our past and create something beautiful together." Ava, her eyes shimmering with tears and hope, replied softly, "I've always believed that the smallest acts of kindness can spark the greatest change. With you, I see a future where we both can heal, not just ourselves, but the wounds of a world that has too often forgotten what it means to care. In that tender moment, as they embraced amidst the quiet hum of the gala, all the doubts, fears, and scars of the past seemed to melt away, replaced by a resolute promise to build a better tomorrow. Their love story, once born out of secret meetings over a simple cup of coffee, soon blossomed into a profound partnership that transcended the boundaries of wealth and hardship. Tristan and Ava became inseparable, their shared vision inspiring not only those around them, but also igniting a movement of change that spread far beyond the confines of their personal lives. Tristan's transformation from a cold, calculating CEO to a compassionate leader became a beacon for those who had once felt lost in a world ruled by profit and indifference. Ava, once a humble barista with dreams overshadowed by the relentless demands of survival, emerged as a tireless advocate for social justice, channeling her energy into initiatives that provided education, healthcare, and hope for countless underprivileged families. Together, they founded a charitable organization that aimed to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots, a foundation built on the core belief that every individual, regardless of their background, deserved a chance at a better life. Under their leadership, the organization launched an array of programs designed to empower communities. Scholarships were established for bright, determined students. Vocational training centers opened their doors to those seeking to improve their skills, and community centers were transformed into vibrant hubs of support and creativity. Each initiative was imbued with the spirit of their own journey, a journey that had begun with a single transformative encounter over a cup of coffee at a humble café. Yet, the path to redemption was not without its trials. There were moments when the specter of Tristan's past threatened to overshadow the progress they had made. Harsh media scrutiny, public protests, and lingering doubts from those still haunted by the scars of corporate exploitation all served as reminders of the challenges that lay ahead. But every obstacle only strengthened Tristan's resolve and deepened Ava's commitment to their shared cause. Together, they weathered storms both literal and metaphorical, drawing strength from each other and from the belief that even the darkest legacies could be reshaped by the light of compassion. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled softly in the distance and the city's skyline was bathed in the muted glow of twilight, Tristan received a phone call that would test the very core of his newfound principles. A long-time business associate, whose loyalty had been unwavering in the past, informed him that a critical contract, one that had long fueled the remnants of his father's exploitative practices, was under threat due to mounting pressure from activist groups. The news sent shockwaves through Tristan's carefully reconstructed world. Without hesitation, he convened an emergency meeting with his legal team, determined to sever all ties with the corrupt practices that had once defined his family's legacy. His decision was met with fierce resistance from certain board members, but Tristan's voice, resolute and unwavering, silenced any dissent. "We are not defined by our past mistakes," he declared. "We are defined by the actions we take to right them. From this moment on, every decision we make will be guided by the principle of compassion over profit." His words, though met with skepticism by some, resonated deeply with those who believed in the possibility of true change. As the months passed, the foundation grew steadily, its impact rippling through communities near and far. Schools reported higher attendance and improved academic performance among students who benefited from the new scholarship programs. Community centers, once abandoned and neglected, were revitalized into vibrant spaces where art, education, and hope flourished. The success stories of individuals who had once been marginalized began to surface in local newspapers and online forums, each tale a testament to the transformative power of empathy and perseverance. In every smiling child, every triumphant family, Tristan and Ava saw the tangible fruits of their labor, a reminder that even the most deeply ingrained wounds could begin to heal when nurtured by genuine care. Meanwhile, the personal evolution of Tristan and Ava became an enduring inspiration to those around them. Tristan, whose public persona had once been synonymous with ruthless ambition, now appeared before the world as a man who had redefined success on his own compassionate terms. His quarterly earnings reports, once the sole focus of financial analysts, now featured headlines celebrating his philanthropic endeavors and community outreach. Ava, whose journey from a modest barista to a visionary leader had captured the hearts of many, became a frequent speaker at universities and community events, urging young people to believe in their capacity to bring about meaningful change, no matter how insurmountable the obstacles. Their love, forged in the crucible of shared pain and healing, grew ever stronger with time. On a bright spring day, with the city awash in the gentle light of renewal, Tristan took Ava to a secluded park adorned with blooming cherry blossoms. Under the soft canopy of petals, he spoke with heartfelt sincerity about his dreams for the future, a future where their combined efforts would leave an indelible mark on the world, transforming not only corporate culture, but also the very fabric of society. He said, his voice trembling with emotion, "I have come to realize that the true value of my life is not in the wealth I have amassed, but in the lives I can touch, the hope I can restore, and the love we share. I want us to build a legacy together, one that transcends the limits of our past and paves the way for a brighter, kinder tomorrow." Ava, tears glistening in her eyes, squeezed his hand in silent affirmation. "I've always believed that love and compassion can change the world, Tristan," she murmured, "and I believe in us. Our ability to heal, to forgive, and to create something beautiful from the ashes of our past." Their embrace, as tender and resolute as the gentle spring breeze, symbolized the merging of two disparate worlds, a union of wealth and hardship, of privilege and perseverance, bound together by a shared commitment to make a difference. In the years that followed, the impact of Tristan and Ava's partnership continued to expand, both personally and professionally. Their foundation, now a well-oiled engine of social change, reached far beyond the boundaries of the city. Families once crippled by poverty found renewed hope. Children deprived of education now had access to quality schooling, and entire communities began to thrive under the umbrella of their transformative initiatives. Tristan's company, too, underwent a profound cultural shift, embracing ethical practices and corporate social responsibility as core tenets of its operations. The legacy of his father, once a dark stain on the company's reputation, was gradually being replaced by a new narrative, one of redemption, accountability, and a genuine commitment to bettering the world. Public opinion, which had initially been skeptical of Tristan's sudden pivot from ruthless businessman to compassionate benefactor, began to shift. Interviews with Tristan, filled with candid admissions of regret and heartfelt promises for the future, resonated with people from all walks of life. Meanwhile, Ava's story, the tale of a humble barista who rose to become a champion for the underprivileged, captivated audiences, inspiring a generation of young activists and social entrepreneurs. Together they proved that even the most entrenched systems of power could be challenged and reformed by the unyielding force of human compassion. One memorable evening at a celebratory banquet held in honor of the Foundation's 5th anniversary, Tristan and Ava stood before an audience of donors, community leaders, and grateful beneficiaries. In a speech that would be remembered for years to come, Tristan recounted the serendipitous encounter that had set their journey in motion. A chance meeting at a modest café that had led to a cascade of events, transforming lives in ways he had never thought possible. "I used to believe that success was measured by the numbers in a bank account, by the size of one's empire," he declared, his voice strong yet tender. "But tonight I stand before you, humbled and transformed, knowing that the greatest success is found in the love we share, the hope we nurture, and the lives we change along the way." Ava, standing at his side, added softly, "Every cup of coffee, every kind word, every small act of compassion has the power to change the world. Our journey is a testament to that truth, a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, redemption is possible, and love can conquer even the darkest of legacies." The applause that followed was thunderous, a resounding affirmation of the transformative power of empathy and the unbreakable bond forged between two souls determined to create a better future. As time marched on, Tristan and Ava's love story continued to evolve, marked by milestones that spoke to the enduring strength of their commitment. Their wedding, a celebration of unity that bridged two vastly different worlds, was held on a sun-dappled afternoon in a picturesque garden surrounded by family and friends. The vows they exchanged were not mere words but sacred promises to stand by each other, to forgive the past, and to build a future defined by love and integrity. A year after their union, Their home echoed with the laughter of their daughter Lily, an angelic child whose bright eyes and gentle smile brought a renewed sense of joy and purpose into their lives. Every giggle, every small step she took, was a living testament to the belief that even the most painful histories can give rise to new beginnings. In the quiet moments of reflection that followed, as Tristan and Ava watched Lily play in the sunlit garden, they both realized that their journey, fraught with betrayal, heartbreak, and the arduous process of healing, had ultimately led them to a place of profound fulfillment. Their love had transcended the boundaries of wealth, power, and legacy, becoming a beacon of hope for all those who believed in the possibility of redemption. The challenges they had faced, the public scrutiny, and the personal sacrifices had all been worth it for the sake of creating a legacy that would outlive them. A legacy built on compassion, resilience, and the unshakable belief that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to transform lives. Tristan's transformation was not just personal, but also emblematic of a broader shift in the corporate world. His company, once the epitome of ruthless ambition, had evolved into a model of ethical leadership and social responsibility. Under his guidance, profit was no longer the sole objective. Instead, every decision was made with an eye toward its impact on communities, the environment, and the future. This new vision, though challenging to implement, began to garner widespread support from employees, shareholders, and even competitors, who recognized that sustainable success depended on the well-being of society at large. Ava, for her part, emerged as a passionate advocate for change. Drawing from her own experiences of struggle and perseverance, she began to speak at schools and community events, inspiring others to believe that their circumstances did not define their destiny. Her heartfelt speeches and tireless work with the foundation soon earned her a reputation as a symbol of hope, a living example of how one person's determination can spark a revolution of kindness and accountability. Together, Tristan and Ava became a formidable team, their combined efforts reshaping not only their own lives, but also the lives of countless others who had long been forgotten by a system that valued profit over people. As the years passed, the story of Tristan Monroe and Ava Collins became a legend in its own right. A tale of how a single, unassuming cup of coffee had set off a chain reaction of events that culminated in the transformation of entire communities. Their journey, replete with moments of raw vulnerability, fierce determination, and the unyielding power of love, was chronicled in books, documentaries, and countless online platforms, inspiring a new generation to challenge the status quo and to fight for a more compassionate world. Even in the face of setbacks and challenges, be it the lingering skepticism of those who had once suffered at the hands of corporate greed, or the occasional relapse into old habits when the pressures of modern life threatened to overwhelm them, Tristan and Ava remained steadfast in their mission. Their foundation continued to grow, branching out into new regions and launching innovative programs that addressed everything from educational disparities to healthcare access in underserved communities. With each new project, their resolve deepened, and the seeds of change they had sown began to bear fruit in ways that surpassed even their most optimistic expectations. Every evening, as the city lights flickered on and the bustle of urban life gave way to quiet introspection, Tristan and Ava would retreat to their shared home, where they would sit together on the balcony, reflecting on the day's triumphs and setbacks. In those moments, they spoke of dreams yet to be realized, and plans for a future where compassion was the guiding principle of all human endeavor. Their love, once forged in the quiet corners of a humble café, had grown into a bond that transcended all boundaries, a bond that proved time and again that the true measure of success was not found in material wealth, but in the capacity to give, to forgive, and to love without reservation. In the end, the tale of Tristan Monroe and Ava Collins was more than just a story of betrayal and redemption. It was a testament to the transformative power of a single moment. A moment when two very different souls found each other in the most unlikely of places and together reshaped the world around them. Their journey, marked by the scars of the past and the bright promise of the future, served as a reminder that even in a world dominated by wealth and power, the simplest acts of kindness can change lives forever. And so, as the sun set on yet another day filled with hope and promise, Tristan and Ava continued to walk hand in hand into the future, their hearts forever intertwined in a shared legacy of compassion, resilience, and the unwavering belief that love could conquer even the darkest of legacies. Their story, etched in the annals of those who dared to dream beyond the confines of their circumstances, remained a beacon of light for all who had ever felt lost or forgotten. It taught the world that true success is measured not by the accumulation of riches, but by the positive impact one has on the lives of others. In every smile, every life touched, and every small act of generosity, the spirit of their journey lived on, a living, breathing reminder that even a simple cup of coffee can indeed change someone's entire life. And so, with every passing day, as new challenges emerged and old wounds slowly healed, Tristan and Ava pressed on, fueled by the unshakable conviction that together they could build a better world, one where every heart, no matter how scarred, had the chance to be mended, and every life, no matter how humble, could shine brightly in the light of true transformative love.